Hi there, welcome to the kitchen. Today we're going to be starting one of my favorite projects, which is in the fall. I love to can tomatoes and make salsa. This is my first attempt at putting this on video. My family's been enjoying these for years and I want to share that with you. So what you do is you start with fresh tomatoes, which are called canners or canning tomatoes. Canning tomatoes are usually much less expensive than perfect tomatoes, because what you're going to find is there's going to be blemishes, there's going to be splits, and maybe even a little boo-boo every once in a while on a tomato. So pick out your tomatoes from your local farm stand that are canners. They'll usually cost you about $1 a pound. There's about 20 pounds here, so we're going to start with that. Have all your supplies ready and available out on the counter. Make sure that you get new lids each year. They sell the packages of the large wide mouth and the small. The rings can be reused over and over again. As you can see, I've been saving mine for years, just like my mom used to do, and making sure I use them over and over again to save money. While I was cleaning out my cupboard, getting things ready for my salsa, came across a few things from last year that I made that I didn't realize I still had. Here's last year's salsa. This is what it's going to end up with looking like, and I wrote salsa and the date 2012 on the top. Here's some red pepper relish we made. Here's some green tomato relish we made. Found 2 quarts of tomatoes. I thought those were all gone in February, and here we are in September. 2012 brochure and 2012 Romas. Also 5 jars of our hot peppers. They are so hot, I can only eat about 1 bite, and then I have to take a big drink of something nice and cold to wash it down. So get all your supplies out, have everything ready, get it ready to go into a hot water bath before you use it. That's going to be including all of your rings, all of your lids, as well as your jars. You're going to use a lot of hot water during this canning process, so go ahead and get 3 pots of water started. This one here, of course, is where we're going to put the jars to seal them. This is going to be used to dip the tomatoes to remove the skin, and this is a backup one to replenish the water that you might need in the other 2 pots, or use it for sterilizing the jars. So get those started while you're working on the other process. Even though we're going to sanitize our jars in another step, you want your salsa to be going into clean jars. Take them out of your cupboard and run them through the dishwasher. What Bob is doing here is making slices on the bottom of the tomato before plunging them into the boiling water. This allows the skin to slip right off the tomatoes. We've found using a big roasting pan is the easiest way to put the tomatoes once they've been peeled and cored. This allows them to be placed on the stove, heated, and cooked. We've found that using Mrs. Wages, which we buy at the local Agway, creates some of the best salsa. So after adding onions, peppers to the peeled tomatoes, we put them in a big roasting pan, put it on the stove, and heat it all up. Go ahead, Bob, add that package. That's 3 packages of Mrs. Wages spicy salsa. Add that all together, and now we're going to stir together and bring it all to a boil.
Look at this.
Oh.
I don't think I need to measure it, do I?
No, we've been doing this long enough. Just do it in your head. It's going to be about 1.5 cups of apple cider vinegar. That's about 1 cup. Add another about 1/2 cup in there. There we go. Now we're going to stir that all together and bring it to a boil. Alright, once the sauce is done, it's all cooked down. Nice and smooth. Doesn't that look wonderful? We've heated it all the way up. Everything is ready for going in the jar. So the next step is going to be putting our salsa in the jar and getting it ready to can. Put your jars in the boiling water to sterilize them. Add your lids and your rings. My mom would always place a towel on the bottom of the canning pan before putting any jars in it. This protects the jars from bouncing around. After sterilizing your jars, fill the jars using a funnel. A funnel is helpful to keep all the salsa in the jar. and you fill it, so you leave about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch on the top of each jar to allow for expansion. And the tongs are here for lifting the hot glass jars out of the sterilization and putting them into the sealing bath. So we're going to finish by adding all of the salsa to the sterilized jars and then placing the jars into the boiling water. Before putting the lids on the jars, take a cloth that's been dipped in water and wipe the edge of the jar just to make sure that there's no salsa on the edge of the jar. Wipe it off, not touching it, and go back, get one of your lids, use the tongs in the hot water. You can fish one out here. There we go. You have a lid. You take the lid using the tongs, set it right on top of the jar, square it around, and then fish out a ring. Here's a ring, and set that right over the jar, just like that. And then go ahead and screw it down on there. You don't have to screw it down too tightly, just to finger tightness. And then we're going to use the tongs because the jar is hot. Lift the jar and put it over the other ones that are ready to go into the hot water. Alright, after all your pints are filled, you're going to put the lids and the rings on them and seal them up, and then drop them into boiling water, and we're going to boil these for about 20 to 25 minutes, maybe a half hour, but it won't take long. You don't add any salt to these because there's enough acidity in the vinegar and the tomatoes themselves so that you don't need to add the non-iodine salt. And let's check these back in about 25 minutes.